head so you can see its lamp.
Well, it's kind of fashionable, actually.
Welcome, everybody, to tonight's INE Network broadcast. My name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and this is our gang, the INE Network for Inspiration and Encouragement. We've been helping each other take on the marketplace for a long time, over 30 years now. And the idea of figuring out how to make something really nice, discovering a talent, developing that talent, mastering something, and then eventually getting to the point where you're pretty good at your marketing, then you can make a life out of it. And the business aspect of trading yourself and your talent is where everyone has so much trouble. Just creates all kinds of problems when you take your talent, your ideas, and try and sell them in the economy. And most just don't know how to do that. Now, I lucked out. I was a dentist for years. I took the dental drill and turned it into a high-speed power carving tool called the Power Pen. And then I had to figure out how to market it. And it took me a long time to get through that transition stage of how in the hell does this work? Because I can ask every artist out there, and they all say, I'm not very good at marketing. And that's got to be the problem. And I'm going, well, learning what to do and learning how to do it and how to penetrate the marketplace with whatever it is you're trying to trade in the economy is a fairly well-known skill. It's something that the business world has worked on for years and years and years. But there's a little hiccup, and that's when I finally started to do well. So when I discovered this difference. There's two parts in the economy. One is things that people need, and the other part of the economy is things that people want. And those two are not similar products, and they are not marketed the same way, almost 180 degrees apart, in fact. But what I see happening on the internet is a dominance of a personal brand. If all you do is just show up once in a while, even, the brand begins by what you put up or how you react. And the Google algorithms and Facebook algorithms, they pick up everything that we do. My phone, it watches me everywhere I go and tracks everything going on in my life and your life and all of us. And then they get fairly savvy about what kind of products then would you be most likely interested in, or what things do you most like. The kind of what I call like-minded relationships start showing up in your life. And that like-mindedness, this is what helps sell things that people want. If you're talking the same language as the person that you're trying to sell to, things get infinitely easier. So of all the things we've talked about lately, we've done upscale marketing, we've done pricing, we're doing personal branding now, and we've been through two earlier sessions, kind of what is branding, personal branding, and second is kind of how do you begin to build it, and tonight we're going to talk about how you begin to use it. So the other two shows are over on YouTube. If you can find those and get into part one and part two and go through those, that'll help you understand a little bit more of what I'm going to do tonight. But I still want you to kind of understand when you start to use it, what are you really accomplishing? What's going on? And I'll pull up my show here and we'll get this rolling. There's just the brand is now becoming so visible and so dominant because of the specificity of the computer world, the internet world. I went in and misspelled a word this morning on Facebook, and I went back and read it about an hour later and noticed that I'd misspelled the word, so I opened it up, fixed it, and corrected that one word, one letter, and fixed it. And then the computer can then adjust, and it goes on down the road fixed. And I'm going, the computer ability to manage a period out of what? How many millions, billions of people on social media today? And the computerized world can track and take care of all that. And then we somehow don't think that everything we do or everything we say and every mark we make on the internet just doesn't matter. It's just me. I'm going, well, if you don't pay attention to it and guide it, then you get whatever shows up. Now, that's following the same line of thinking that I've preached for I don't know how long with a personal career. It's hard enough to do as it is anyway, to build your brand and build your name and build your reputation anyway. But if you're not trying at all, or you're not paying attention at all, or you don't know what you're doing, then any road will do. Because the computer social world is branding you one way or the other every time you mix with it. So what I'm trying to do tonight is to get you to think a little bit differently about the branding portion. What we're really trying to do is brand you and somewhat manage it. Just don't leave it to accident. Don't leave it to whatever. It's like throwing mud on the wall and see if something will stick. What a lousy way to go about your mixture with the economy and with the world marketplace. If you can spot how someone else is doing it, and then you start evolving with that, it's someone who's already climbed the mountain of success that you admire, that you like, that is appealing to you, then what you do is stay with that and try and say, well, I wonder if there's something I can do with that, okay? If you're doing this right, then personal branding is an identification, a selection, or remembering method. And it helps to begin to build, oh, that's who you are. I know who you are. I know what you do. And they begin to identify with that, and if they like it, then they'll belong or mix with it even more. So our job to brand ourselves is to begin this rememberability process. We're building value in the whole thing. We talked in the pricing section about how all prices are, everything in the marketplace is pure perception. There really is no value to anything. We create that value, and we can create a demand, we can create a scarcity. All of those things then create this value and this collectability. So the whole idea here is to do by design with the purposeful effort, which to me is a plan of the what and the why and what we're going to really, really sell, okay? Never forget, with every new customer, you have only one chance, just one, to make the first great impression. If you plan it and make it all it can be, wonderful, create a wonderful memory, and you'll create a customer for life. So it's this initial impact thing. It's this first exposure to you. You got any idea if you've been on in the internet, let's say this last week, Google Plus or Facebook, and you've been on in this last week at all, you bumped into people you've never known before, and they bumped into you. And if you had something up, if you posted something, then people have an ability here to kind of judge and look at what you posted and consider your words and decide to follow you or not. And if you don't do any of the mixing, then nothing happens. The whole idea here is to do something. Don't hesitate. I've watched so many in our database. We've had over 30,000 go through our lives. I watch people who get a great idea and they start into it, and then it starts getting a little complicated. And their life gets busy doing other things, and then all of a sudden they've just drifted off into something else. That's the reason Opportunity Intersection, the business plan that we sell, is so helpful. Because the business plan helps keep you on track, or supposed to if you'll make it. But the whole idea is to get in and make an effort here, do some doing. There is 7 steps from an ordinary circumstance to an extraordinary one. And as you begin to learn where you are in that process and how you're making it work, I guarantee you the more you play with your talents and gifts, the more thrilling it becomes. And it lights this fire inside of us to where you just can't put it down anymore. I want to do more, I want to do more, I want to do more. And when we started all of this 38 years ago, there was nothing that we're working with now. None of this existed. Our cell phones, our smartphones, our computers, our laptops, our internets, nothing. It was all done manually. I call it analog. Analog days. That's as old as dirt. And it was so interesting to try and figure out, well, what could I do to make a brand? And I use Sam Maloof a lot, and I also use Robert Louis Stevenson. An aim in life is the only fortune worth finding. Think that through. The one thing is to find something to aim at and then go find it. See if there isn't some way you can make it happen. Sam did as well with his name and reputation and brand as anybody I've ever watched. And I watched him for years until he passed away in 2009. And I don't know how you could turn a regular rocking chair into a $30,000 piece of art, but he did it. And it was always because this is a Sam Maloof chair. It has a lot to do with the quality of the construction and everything. He never used a pattern. He says, I don't trust patterns. So he went at it his own way. And people would pay him, it was $5,000, I think, to come and watch him for the week build a chair. They were so intrigued with what he had done and how well he was doing, and how come his chair is worth $30,000 and I can't make one and sell it for $500. And it's usually that way in the economy because they just don't understand how branding even works. Okay. So from this point out, we're kind of in charge of that department. You put that hat on and say, I'm going to see if I can nudge this a little bit further into the marketplace. He managed to take it from a chair to a piece of art, okay? And it sold because of who made it, Sam Maloof Design. Even if the doctor gives you a year, even if he hesitates about a month, make one brave push and see what can be accomplished in a week. So I'm going to resurrect Robert Louis Stevenson and shoot Louis Robert Jensen at you tonight and say, would you take a challenge tonight to really work on your personal brand this next week? Try and define it better. Try and figure out what is this unique concept, because you see it. There's not a stream in the internet and social media every day that doesn't have something up about personal branding. And it's beginning to show up in every direction, so you have to ask yourself, well, there must be something to it. But what? And how in the world can you use it? What can you do to help make this work a little bit better? He also said every man has a sane spot somewhere. Everyone lives by selling something. This guy would have fit my kid would love to meet Robert Louis Stevenson, because it just has a certain sense of realism to it. Comments that say, okay, time to pay attention here. What branding does is boiling down who you want to become and what you most want to trade with the world. So you're trying to target more. Have you heard the word focus out of me? Focus your business efforts. How bad? And it's the one thing I struggle with the most, and I know it's what you struggle with the most. We're largely all over the place. We're right-brain people. We got a new idea an hour. maybe even a minute. And that really interferes with this whole process of, okay, now what should I sell? What really am I trying to do? And how I do it is I just keep coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it, trying. Okay? If you wait too long for the perfect moment will pass you by. So it's time to rethink personal branding and see if you can't look at it from a perspective that you could improve in this next week, improve your targeting. So you're going to kind of rough it out, then you're going to make a plan, then you're going to begin your efforts, and then you're going to persist and continue to persist. And I'm maintaining if you do this 4-step plan, working on it, it will gradually get better. Whenever I see something that's really successful and it keeps showing up on Facebook or Google Plus, it's always this same sequence. They really know what the hell they're doing. So in my circumstances for this last 4 years, I'm getting ready to do my 40th year next year, and I sit and think about my favorite things, the favorite ideas, favorite images, stories, and the people I travel with, and everything that's evolved here that has been kind of guided. I really don't think it's been an accident. I think it's been for a really good reason. And so as you begin to track your personal threads of interest, you watch what you like. You pay attention to the things you enjoy. If you see something you like, if you go on I just started using Pinterest. And if you go on to Pinterest, it will quickly begin to figure out what you're interested in. And that's then what shows up. And I'm going on as a marketing tool, how in the world can it be any better than if you've got an interest in wood or wood carving or woodworking? And I went through all the sculpture stuff, all the stone things, because I'm trying to learn how to do eyes in stone better than they've been done with most sculpture. And now, guess what's all over Pinterest? And I'm going, that's a powerful tool to have some kind of computerized mechanism paying attention to you and bringing things to you, okay? If you begin to make this chart, it's just a listing of the branding process, okay? It's who you are and what do you do, and then I stay with the things that I really enjoy the most. Egg art, I've not left egg art for 38, 39 years now. It's what started all of this for me. And so the original nail that you hit to get some kind of a hobby-based business career started is something I don't think you should ever wander too far away. I see it happen all the time. People in the network, even some of the masters who've gotten really good at what they do, and then all of a sudden they take this 90-degree right angle turn and start a whole new career. And most of us who do counseling kind of look at it that it can take you another 8 years to get your name and reputation going in anything that's completely new. So I stick pretty close. Those of you that know me well know that this is kind of how Lou Jensen's days go. And who I watch are the names of people who are successful at doing things that they do. I just admired Wayne Dyer so much, and Julia Cameron is one of the most successful writers, motivators. Og Mandino, I knew Og Mandino and had mixed with him a little. And then I watched Sam Loof. I mean, I got a long list here. But this, not one dentist. Not one dentist. I was so relieved to get out of dentistry. It took me quite a while to pull it up, and I was this hell-bent. There's no way I wanted to do fixed teeth all the rest of my life. So these become issues. Now you'll forget them if you're not tracking it. If you're not writing this and making this productivity targeted brand list and paying attention to it, then you're going to be even worse off. I just admire Steve Covey to death. I like Dr. Phil and Dr. Wayne, and I always one-upped them because they don't have hair and I do. I got some hair left. So you just dig hard at what are you most passionate about. Because we could make a list around all of us. Well, I kind of like this, and I kind of like that, and I kind of like this, and I like that, that, and that. But what most? What gets back to that fire in the middle of you? And can you conjure up one grand dream? One thing that you really want to accomplish? Now, I wrote all this stuff down and started writing it and composing it when I was 18. I worked hard on it from 18 to 21. I wrote Lou Jensen's story. And then I've tried to live that story ever since in that direction. So did you see what happened? I bothered to conjure up a dream that was worth living. And then I took my life in the direction of my dream. And that's a personal brand. And I sit and think now, God, it just is amazing to me that it's turned out like it has. I just can't believe the mixture of what's going on in my life and the people that I've met and the relationships that we all have now and the potential of that in the future. We're working on probably the biggest project to date for the business of trying to reach into the veterans world and help bring some of these veterans who are struggling around, give them a chance, give them something to dream about, something to live for, okay? And when I see all the things happening, we're meeting at the university again tomorrow, there's just so much that's going on in and around all of this. It's like a small army that's beginning to grow and develop. And it comes because it's a branded kind of an effort, okay? I crossed paths with Napoleon Hill about that time, and James Allen and Og Mandino, all of them came into my life at almost the exact same moment. It was like, okay, Jensen, pay attention. And I did. And I started mixing with it often, every day. I don't know how you can go through a daily stream of your phone or your computer of Google Plus and not have some quote that just burns a hole right through you. We need to talk seriously if that doesn't happen, because it should. There should be some need you have right now, something going on in your life that a problem you're trying to solve, or you're trying to open some doors. There's got to be some, almost this emotional call into eternity saying, I need some help here. And then all of a sudden it shows up, and we kind of ignore it. And I'm going, well, why should we maybe take it that way? Exactly 100 years ago, a fortuitous meeting in Pittsburgh completely changed the life of one young man and ushered in a new philosophy for personal achievement that has served as the foundation of the success movement for the last century. That young man was Napoleon Hill, a young reporter from Virginia, and had a meeting in the fall of 1908, excuse me. My dyslexia caught up with me. He described it, when the hand of destiny reached out. And doesn't that sound like what we just talked about? What if you're that close? What if your goal in your life, the thing you've looked for, worked for, maybe invested all your life to get toward to now, is that close? Hill had been granted an interview with Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, who was then the world's richest man. He dove into the questioning, Mr. Carnegie, to what do you attribute your phenomenal success? The industrial, then 73, about that age, opened it up quickly, and with wit and his unrivaled gift for anecdote, began to relate the stories of his achievements, and Hill could hardly keep up with his shorthand notes. Carnegie began to expand on his and others' theories of personal achievement. Carnegie lamented, "It's a shame that each new generation must find the way to success by trial and error, when the principles really are clear-cut. There's a pattern. There's a pattern of success. And those who find the pattern seem to do pretty well, and those who never spot the pattern just struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle." After 3 days of interviewing, Carnegie invited Hill back and offered him the opportunity to organize the world's first practical philosophy of individual achievement. I will introduce to you two men who can and will collaborate with you in this organization. Do you want the opportunity and will you follow through if it's given to you? Hill blurted out with characteristic enthusiasm, yes, I'll undertake that job and I'll finish it. Carnegie withdrew a stopwatch and he told Hill it had taken him exactly 29 seconds to respond. Carnegie told him the offer would have been withdrawn after 60 seconds. It's been my experience that a man who cannot reach a decision promptly cannot be depended on to carry through many of the decisions that they make. I've also discovered that people who reach decisions promptly usually have the capacity to move with definiteness and purpose. Excuse me. Very well, said Carnegie. You have one of two important qualities one needed to do this philosophy that I've described. Now I will learn whether or not you have the second. I'll give this opportunity. Are you willing to devote 20 years of your life to the cause of success and failure without pay, earning your own living as you go along? Oh, can you imagine this moment? That would make such a great moment in a film. Hill was so stunned, he was assumed that Carnegie was going to subsidize him for the enormous fortune. With his fortune. It is not unwillingness to supply the money. Carnegie explained, it is my desire to know if you have in you the natural capacity to go the extra mile. That is, to render service before trying to collect for it. He did meet the second test, and he did go on and write the greatest achievement philosophy of American success. For the next 20 years, he interviewed all the greats, and in 1928 he published The Law of Success. To reveal a philosophy upon which all personal success is built. Those teaching 9 years later became Think and Grow Rich, and that's where I'm at him. Greatest book of all time has offered essential principles for improving one's health, wealth, and success. It is the pattern. So when you start looking for, okay, that's what Napoleon Hill did, and that's what Lou's done, but what am I doing? And how can I turn that into something that can pay the bills and yet absolutely be a joy to do? So as we proceed with this master's course, trying to help you discover, develop, and master your talent, I call it the passionate prescription. There's got to be some way for you to find something you can zero in on and pursue consistently and persistently to the point you actually can master something and then do well in the economy. These are slides. I'm going through them a little quick, but these are slides from my other two courses, so I can kind of get through these a little quicker. If you think how many hours you invested this year in doing some hobby or learning more about some hobby, but then you didn't do much about the business side of that, can you see the difference in the effort? A lot here or a lot here. And in order to do something, it's like the art of the personal brand. How can you do it if you don't really lean into it? And I call it opportunity intersection. It's the time when opportunity shows up and preparation crosses that. And so if we're looking at what we're going to do with the rest of your days, that should drive you a ton. Of all the things I've produced and all the things I've put out in the last 40 years, that front slide in opportunity intersection, it says, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I get more reaction on that than anything else I've ever done. Because most of us know that just being busy or just struggling through every day is not much of a decent life. But if you don't develop some kind of a brand, some kind of a plan, and you're leaning more on the sizzle than the steak, you're making something with a fire in it, some passion in it to present you and what it is you're doing into the economy, you're really making a big mistake. It's exactly like taking the light from the sun, run it through the prism, and focus it into a targeted brand beam. It is a way of thinking, and that thinking process will gradually get better and better and better. The more you play with who you are and what it is you're trying to trade in the economy, the more you turn it into lightning that strikes right here. Remember? That's what you're trying to. You're trying to produce lighting, but you want it to hit where you want it to hit to make it work out. And it's this constant. I know it's a balancing act. I know that it's a challenge. Most won't do it. Most just will not stay on this and focus it long enough to where they really get something going that actually works. Okay. When you see an image like this, and you sit and think how strong that image is, and it really, you don't, all you have to do is just glance at it. You know exactly what's going on. When you see something like taking the road less traveled, you've got to have a little feel that that's probably the way it's going to be. And then I bumped into this one. I made a path that no one had traveled and left the path. That's the one I like. And I've taken it very determinedly from the dream to building a map and a plan, and then preparing for the launch, and doing the launch, and then from then on, check your direction, solve your problems, and invest in the sharing process. This is the business thereof here. And those are the 7 steps. If you could be on the cover of Fast Company, what would they say about you? What is your dominant theme? What are you most about? The first session was about learning how to use your brand, the beginning efforts to build a brand, and the theory of the brand. And now, oh, I'm going the wrong direction here. Now we're going to learn to use it. Hope I didn't lose you right there. Yeah, I lost myself. Are you willing to bet the level of your success or the lack thereof for the rest of your days on the fact that you do or don't know what a good brand is and how to use it? This slide comes up, and I've taught this particular course for several years now. This slide always comes up, and I always wonder how many this even shakes you inside a little. Are you willing to bet the success or lack of success on I don't understand the brand, I don't have one, and I don't really care? Steve Covey's whole life centered around this North Star. It was what you pick out is your North Star. My life is here, but what I'd like is for it to be over here, and then I'm going to go that way with the rest of my days. Working with ultra-famous brands, money invested in the development of a brand is venture capital. It is not a big investment compared to the returns, but it is an investment. That's where the risk lies. Brand for your company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well. How well is Amazon doing? Brand that captures your mind gains behavior. The brand that captures your heart gains commitment. Ooh, that's the one I like right there. Commitment and energy. 2 great questions of the day are, can you brand yourself, or does the marketplace do it for you? I just talked about that. That's, if you don't do something here, it happens anyway. And the whole thing is to try and do a little bit more by design. You want the lightning to strike wherever you want it to. Okay? You want to control that to some degree. So now we're getting into the part of beyond the jack of all trades, the process before the perfection and starting your own fire. What will help that customer remember you? And then encourage them to begin to purchase and collect your work. And I'm sorry, but it is a never-ending process. And I talk about it every time to make these promises. They're just not going to back off of this. I can't think of a single counseling idea that I could give to you that would help you grow old and enjoy it more than to figure out what this is all about. Zero in on the best you and then start promoting that. It is climb, no question, it's uphill. And what you want to do is find somebody else that's already done it. It's an uphill effort, and then something someone else can do for you. They can't go up and climb for you. And if you change pathways, you really lose a lot of time. So the whole idea is to begin with the end in mind. Your life is an as-is world here. You're trying to move it over to here. And that process, you're shifting those gears and going in that direction. Success is not measured by what a person accomplishes, but by the opposition they've encountered and the courage with which they have maintained the struggle against overwhelming odds. And my favorite slide. I've used this for years and years and years and years. It's the whole world is convenient now. If it's easy and fast and slick, I'll do it. But if it takes a little bit of dedication and persistence, it's going to be me, okay? Our whole program has helped you master something and then develop the skills in the economy and the marketplace. And if personal branding is a toolbox, then this is what you really need to pay attention to. And it's how you get ahead of the game. It helps you succeed where other people don't think it's even possible. I bump into artist after artist after artist who figure this out and do extremely well with their own name and reputation, and the rest who just haven't got a clue. I talked to you last week about handing out a card to 1,000 people, and if it was your last handout, card or flyer, what would you say? What's been the dominant theme of your life? What has living taught you? Is that not something you could pass on? What if it would be permanently etched in the sands of time, and on into the future, people are going to cross paths with what you said on this last handout? That should start you beginning to look at what you most prefer. That's a really good thread of interest concept to start with. But then you want to push that idea more, okay? Whatever you're going to do and say, be around influencing from now on. So you just keep nudging that. And then I see this concept. If you've never done this, you don't even know what he's talking about. But I guarantee you grab a cat by the tail. You're starting to move with a brand that begins to go, oh my God, I'm onto it finally. Because it's a tool. And it's not this, at most do it this way. They've got this giant function they're trying to accomplish, and they've got a 2-bit little screwdriver to do it. If you were going to be invited on Oprah's show or Martha Stewart's show, would you want to walk off that show and say, oh my God, I wish I'd have been more prepared? And there's a lot of first-timers have had this same kind of opportunity and they blew it. It's what we plant in the minds of other people. And so you kind of are planning. You got the opportunity to plan on social media every day something. But if you're not making any effort to mix with it at all, then how are you going to come out? You're going to plant good seed or poison. Which seeds are you going to plant? Or nothing at all? And I can't think of anything more silly than not participating with social media now. It is the way all the world is going. Nothing planted, nothing returned. So let's start with where I think everyone struggles the most. this little question of personal confidence. Where could you rate your confidence level tonight? Are you pretty confident in what you're doing, or are you brand new? And is it easy? It's not usually easy to see that in ourselves. The lack of basic fundamental decisions about your own business success really interfere with your ability to plant those seeds. That's what business is the trading of thoughts and ideas. That's what art is, the expression of that. And when I tell you the story of my fishing efforts up on the Green River, and I talk about how we go up there with one of our top artists, and he worked on that river as a fisheries biologist for 3 years. And when that boy goes fishing, he'll catch 100 fish a day right in front of you. And you'll have a hard time catching diddly anything. And it's because he knows what he's doing. And when you can say, all right, then I'm going to learn to do what I'm doing, and then learn how I can market better and put the seeds in place that would literally help me have a different future, or a little more of a future. And then we look at this. I like to use altruistic because it's really subtle. It is human nature at work. And human nature is in the range of idealism, high-mindedness, benevolence, loftiness, unselfishness, magnanimous, generous, noble, big-hearted, and unselfish. These are the concepts that most people can attach to. And could you pick out this list and say which one of these are you most like? Can you see anything there that could be attached to your future and become a part of your brand? We talked about Ron in the first session, and the store called him and said, "We've heard that you're the #1 engraver in the state." And when you know this is what's happening in and around you, then you really are beginning to make things happen. Jose's done the same thing. His name and reputation just ripples out in front of him now like a sword. And if you can figure out that this side of your life where a door closes and another door opens, it's so exciting to know that finally those tools are beginning to help you, okay? You're beginning to get it, and then you're beginning to learn to use it. This is a selling path. It's how it works, one step to the other. And when you begin to see that this is the whole center of the functioning of finding you and staying with you until they buy, this is what grows those relationships. This is what builds the trust. And once you begin to know that, okay, I've used the fishing analogy forever, because marketing and fishing and branding, all of this stuff is how you implement it. It's how this stuff all happens. And a lot of people, it happens by accident. They don't even know what's going on. I'm going, well, what if you could guide it? What if you could kind of manipulate this until you get this one big fish? Is all anybody in this artistic world needs is someone supporter. One person who leans their life into yours to help you to achieve success. That's what we're after, okay? That one person, okay? Kelly found this guy and has been working for him ever since, and builds custom furniture, goes on hunting trips with him all over the world. It is exactly how it happened for me, and exactly how it happens for most of our masters. They found one person that begins to like who you are and what you're doing, and allows you to separate yourself from everyone else with your brand. And you're the one that has to control it, okay? It helps the price and the demand immensely. You don't even need to read all this stuff. Then it's just consistent and it builds trust. You can begin to see it's defining who you are as you're taking on the unknown in the economy. And you have to be able to have, we've built into the I&E network this other end bragging thing right now. We're bragging about each other. And to me, that's the smartest thing you can do. And once you've zeroed in on your own brand, is then begin to promote other people's brand. Wave the flag and beat the drum of who's doing what. Most of you are aware of Craig Hone, and it doesn't take very long when you cross somebody that might be interested in Craig's kind of artwork. It's usually really easy to shoot that into their lives and show them what Craig's doing and introduce him. And they say, well, then I just give him the business and work away to Craig. And I'm going, no, he's in a strong position to be able to take advantage of it. But it always comes back to you. I've never seen it not work that way. When Packer told me if I could dream up a great life and invest every day trying to make those dreams come true, I swallowed that hook, line, and sinker. That became, at 18, lit the fire for me, and it's never gone out since. To live and die as an ordinary egg, I don't think that's a good thing. I think there's a story of your life of how things have gone that there should be, if you can fashion it on out, something unique about you. And that something unique about you is what you've gained. It's what the real value of what's happened in all these years you've lived and worked. Okay, and that is a selling path. That is the way, and that's the direction. That's the way you want to go. And I think the secret of the I&E network is we're gathering it together. We're learning more business together. We're learning technical skills together, and we're helping each other succeed. And one day, it's my hope that this will become the real value to all of us. Is Masterpiece. We got more out of it together than we would have if we'd just gone on alone. Okay? The journaling thing I talk about continuously because that's the only way I know to figure this puzzle out. If you're not capturing consistently in one place the things that interest you the most, you're going to miss this whole thing. And when you can see what somebody else has done, then all of a sudden the personal branding thing, they're the thing you're looking at, but you're using something to measure it against your own circumstance. And if you're working with wood especially, I don't see how you can not just be absolutely freaked out over what Sam did with his life. Notice what I circled here. He figured this out gradually. It doesn't ever happen in an afternoon or in one stroke. And he literally began to create an entire niche for all chair makers. He began to influence other chair makers. And eventually this became his brand. I've never seen a better one. I really, really, really like what Sam did there. This was his studio in his home. And people would come here and spend the time with him and try and develop their own skills and grow even more. Everyone calls their own space a shop. He always called his creative space his studio. Where do you think I picked that up from? I still have people who call me and we're visiting and they talk about it as a shop. And I'm going, please rethink this. This is where your creativity is getting wings. This is where you're going. A dedicated, named, respected, revered spot of your own efforts. And then I talked with one of our masters just recently, two of them, and I talked to him about this effort, this work effort of awards and recognition. He got out there in front of humanity till it was just unbelievable. Look at all that he did. I never use a pattern. I don't believe in I use any tool that'll do the job. If I have to use my teeth, I use my teeth. I like this guy. He had all this publicity, all these stories written about him. Now, if you tell yourself this is all luck, sheer luck for Sam, and I couldn't ever make this happen for myself, then you're missing the whole point, because Sam knew that he needed exposure. The 3 words in the world of needs are location, location, location. The 3 words in the world of handmade, produced creative art, artistic expression are exposure, exposure, exposure. And he was good at it. He made all this happen. So, it's a little hard to get around the work effort. If you're lazy, or if television has taken over your life, or maybe even worse, Facebook, then this won't happen. It's just as predictable as the wind. And so this kind of perfection commands a price. And how exactly did he achieve this level of design perfection? I didn't design it or engineer anything. I just did it by feel and by the way the curve looked. I know there are formulas out there to do it and all, but a lot of times formulas don't work. It's a process of trial and error. Working towards perfection has to be a part of everything that everyone does. You've got to put yourself into it. So if this is Sam Maloof, who did with his life and his talent about as well as anybody I've seen, and that's a pattern, that's a pathway, that's how he did it, and then I'm going to use that same model to guide and inspire me. Do you still think it was an accident? It is always by design. Figuring out what pieces fit together, and this worked for me last year, and this worked for me last year, and that worked for me last year, and I'm going to put the pieces together and begin to build the pattern that I can see the way forward. Give people a fact or an idea and you enlighten their minds. Give them a story and you touch their souls. If you can attach stories to what's happened to you so far, this happened to me, this happened to me, and this happened to me, and then you can start to see the sequence from one to the other. You begin to see your own pattern. And I do this a lot. I'll sit and rehearse things and talk back through things, and I'll bore some people because I'm really trying to hash it out for myself. I'm still trying to figure out my own way. But that's what we all do, don't we? If you can look at a problem, any problem, and then find the opportunity underneath the difficulty, all of a sudden you've found the opportunity. And that then becomes the theory of you. It's what you package. It's what you begin to put together. It's what you're selling into the marketplace, okay? Kids communicate with no inhibitions. They speak from the heart. Strive to communicate person to person, heart to heart. Stories create intimacy in relationships, and that's the essence of a strong brand. Read that again. Strong brand is the story that creates intimacy in relationships. It draws people to you. It's what's happened to you. And it's so funny because often what's happened to you is what's happened to everybody else. Just nobody verbalizes it. Nobody does it into artwork. I have a series of teaching stories that I've used and grown and developed since I was a Scoutmaster. And so there are stories that will show up that remind me, and there'll be moments and circumstances that remind me of one of these stories. Because I've written it, I bothered to write it down, and I bothered to rewrite it, and bothered to make it my own. And then I turned around and used it. And it's amazing how it fits at times when you're trying to help someone else, lift them and give them the opportunity that they're looking for. And if you're out there in the wind, the social media wind, it's blowing. Who and what do you have to trade? The fishing thing is the only analogy that I know to use. But if all you do is tie a hook on and throw it in the water and wait, you're likely to not do very well. And this whole idea of trading better and better and getting better and better results, to me, is why I bothered to do what we're talking about tonight. Why not make the effort to say, well, this isn't a great big thing here. It's not a violence, but it's the oft falling. It's the consistent, persistent effort to do better, to get better, to see how it works, and then figure out, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to make this work. And I don't talk to anybody that doesn't have this dream of their stuff outlasting their life and being famous someday. Most people deep down have this desire to be fulfilled with their life's effort. Otherwise, why keep going through it? Become the best you can become. It won't be something that happens on a heartbeat. So your discovery, your development, and the constant attention to it, and then you start sharing with the world to figure out if you can make it work. Every time you spot something that just pops you, these zingers, and I talk about this continuously as well. When you see something like this, this malachite, everyone, anything I see in malachite just drives me crazy. And I don't know if it's the patterns for sure. I don't know if it's the blend of the colors. It's a whole that is just, I love touching malachite. So I keep that really close to me. That is what's in my journals. That's what's in my phone all the time. It's where I snag it and put it in my digital journal now. Anything that has that kind of sense to it, okay? When Henry Winton Newton and William Windsor introduced the first moist watercolors to the world, reputation for supreme quality has stemmed from the artist's watercolor range more than 170 years later. Look at that. You think that's a significant thing? I'm sitting thinking, what if something you designed or developed or something you started would be around 170 years? I really think the Power Pen will do that. I'm so thrilled with how far it's come, and always discouraged that it's not further. But it's still, it's so exciting to see where it's beginning to go and grow. And when you have this obsession, this thing that just makes your days worth getting up for and fills your days up, and then have a hard time going to sleep at night because you've got something that just keeps you alive. It's that fire within. It's what that determinant passion that begins to be what you're trying to express. A dream come true wouldn't hurt for most people. This has been the one that in my classes, I always start right here. Because if every day, if you're not going in a direction where you're gradually making a little more money and doing a little less work, you're doing it wrong. you're going at it the same old way. There's always a way to grow it to where it becomes gradually easier and more productive. A lot of you have never done the 7 to 11 minute elevator rule. Just find quickly, 11 seconds. What is it that you do? It's the favorite question I get. And most people who are with me, someone who asks that, they say, well, oh, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? If you're with me, most people just kind of go, guess what? You may not want to get this. 11 seconds, I can usually roll it out. If you ever find something you love doing, you'll never work another day in your life. I've made this into something. This is what grabbed my head and my heart as I was leaving dentistry, and I have stayed with it and stayed with it and stayed with it. And that kind of thing begins to be your definition and becomes your brand. So I'm hoping that you'll spot these concepts, these things that begin to make a difference for you, and realize that half will like what you're doing and half won't, and that's okay. Everything that is in the economy is an evolution. And some things don't work forever. Some things you've got to shift the gears and really reconstruct everything. But if you can gradually start to understand this, and you begin to realize who you're targeting and what you're making your effort, then your brand will make sense. So begin tonight. Keep your brand list. I've done this so often, I wonder how many even have a brand list. Don't follow through with it enough to be able to even know that malachite's your favorite stone, your favorite color, your favorite smells. What things are you most interested in, and have they become your product? And it's this constant tracking, this constant paying attention. It's how things work. I've watched it in the lives, particularly it's been a case study to watch the Holmes, because Keith launched it and got it all started. But it's now affecting every one of all three generations. And what they started was 4 generations have been cabinet makers, period. This was their brand. And then gradually Al began to shove his life over into this. It's so fun for me to talk to people that you're a designer more than anything else, because they usually don't understand what that name is. And this was his first effort of putting his studio up, and I said, but where's that smiling face of yours and that first name and the logo? It's all it is a subject, it's a concept, it's sterile. And you want to change that. And Al was in the class. This was such a singular moment, such a great moment in our life. I just talked to him just the other day about it. He came in and he says, I just peeled off the shaving wheel, and he says, look what it did. He says, that's my life, isn't it? You will never forget it, and I will never forget it, and I hope you don't. Where in this image are you? Pretty tough to do it without a brand. And the brand can become weak or literally soft, because everything changes as the wind changes. So it's tough to make it work without constantly building and trying to maintain it. The release form of carving and expression as an art piece is something that Keith has pioneered and worked with for all these years. And it's one of the most powerful tactics to begin to develop sculpture, because you know this is wood carving. Just so dramatic. And then Craig, his son, began to use it. It's won first place in the National Wood Carving Championships. It's been a delight for all of us who know Craig personally to watch his progress and see him develop this skill and know that what he's doing is going after his own talents and his own degree of expression. And it tends to turn into success, and everybody says, oh, but Craig's just lucky. And I'm going, lucky hell. He stacks the deck. He puts everything in place that helps him to succeed. And when you do this little bit of a, what kind of time do you have left? Not one of us know how much longer we really have to get done what it is we're trying to get done. But it doesn't help if you don't have something that you're working on, okay? You're the one that makes this happen. Otherwise, it's stay over here ordinary. And what started as my story quickly became our story, and now we need the perfect combination is your story. So make yourself a promise tonight. Make this 1 week pledge with me. Try and really dig in, jump all over the internet and social media and look at branding. But don't get lost in branding of things that people need and confuse it with the branding for things that people want. Okay? Don't misjudge that, because you can be led down the wrong path pretty easily. Start working on your 11-second rule. Every time you get a chance to talk to somebody and they say, what is it that you do? You have something that's really honed down and really well positioned and thought out, and it is how you then begin to present yourself. And copy, snag this particular slide and put it up in front of your life all week, okay? Becoming of what you're capable of becoming is the only end to life. When I went into my dad's roll-top desk, the night after he had passed away, and in the center of the desk was sitting a 3x5 card with this written on it. It was almost like he left it for me. Become what we're capable of becoming. Why live for any other reason? And it's so easy to talk about imagination and miracles and all this other stuff, but what you're trying to do is to begin to develop this artistic effort. I've been writing quite a bit lately about what is art and why art exists and what is it about it that's so amazing. And we talk often in the INE circle that getting to a point where you can take this image, this model, and then render it somehow to that degree, to me, is what it does for you. I looked at my sketch for Jack Sullivan today. I'm doing a project for him right now, and he's getting ready to leave, going to Jerusalem Saturday. And I put a package together for him to take along on his trip, and I thought, God, since this day here, I've gone on, and I'm not that good, but I'm not bad, and I am getting better. And I just literally love doing that as much as anything that I've ever done. Craig calls it the push, that internal push. It's something that you do that says, you know what, come hell or high water, nothing's going to interfere with this. And all it does is start with this basic little thread of interest. And you take it from there, okay? So, 11-second rule, start your threads of interest. Concentrate on your favorite list of people that you admire. These are the people climbing the mountain of success that you're after. And then start sharing and beginning to learn to share and hone it in what you say about who it is and what you're doing, okay? These are the things that it takes. Doesn't work otherwise. I think focus is the hardest thing in the world to do. And it's the business model. No accident. Profound personal brand could be the best thing you ever do in your lifetime. So, the trick is, don't let anything else get in front of it. Whatever anyone else says, just don't listen to other people's opinions. Work on what your own heart, your own soul are telling you. And it'll open up those doors like you just cannot believe, okay? All right, now, what have I got here? I've got everything going on all at once, and I don't know what. Stop screen sharing. I found it. I hit the right button. Voila, voila.
Hey, Lou.
Yeah.
Through the time that I've known you, I have discovered that you will never, ever have the qualifications to fit into the mold of an ordinary egg.
Oh, you are so right, Mel. You are so right. He is
My
no
bad.
ordinary egg.
Am I that strange?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid I admit, I'll plead guilty.
You plead with the fifth?
No, I don't mind. I don't mind being guilty for it either, because you're the same way, Mel. Though there's no one, and we all that know you, there's no one on this planet who could drive you off in a direction that you don't want to go, Mel. No one. I'm absolutely convinced of that. You're a singular individual person as I think I've ever met in my lifetime, also.
That's true.
But
Want to have fun? Watch this.
yeah, hold my coffee and watch. And I look at that and I say, well, I think that's why we stay together. I think that's why we interact a lot more than some people do. And yet, the progress that we're making in the directions we're going, you have a pathway already picked out. You've been on it quite a long time. And it's tremendously rewarding to you, or you wouldn't keep doing it. But look how it's been a part of your life all along. From your career in the military, from your precision work with the space program.
I've been a maker of things.
Yeah, you're a maker of things, but you're a certain maker of things, too. You have this range of what you like to play with.
Well, some would say might fall into the category of a Renaissance man.
Yeah, they might. It's exactly that. Might be exactly it. But isn't Nick the same way? We've all known Nick a long time now, and Nick does the same kind of deal. If he likes it, he's most likely to zero in on it and go after it. If he doesn't like it, it ain't going to happen.
Lou,
Yeah, Ted.
I have kind of a fun story that happened yesterday. Sal is one of our newest members. He just got the equipment and started it, and he's loving glass. He's struggling with the wood, and he had something come up that he needed some help with. And a guy came in. He says, "Oh," he says, "you've got the high-speed engraver." And he said, "I've got one too." He says, "I started doing gun stocks," but he said it didn't work. And Sal was telling me all about this, and I said, "Sal, did you listen to his attitude?" I said, "Did you hear the way he said it to you, and his attitude? Did you ask him how long he'd been doing it? Did you ask him how many guns he had done? Did you ask him anything about the marketing?" And he says, "No," but he says, "I already understand the guy." He says, "I've got the equipment, and I'm going to make it work."
Yeah.
And I said, "There you go." I said, "It's
Right
the
here.
attitude. It's the attitude. If you're going to do this, it's got to be a passion. It's got to be something that you love. It's going to be what excites you to get up in the morning and go to work." So it was all attitude with that man. And I just want to add this. This was really a good show, and I put myself on so I can write notes. I mean, I'm still learning.
We all are.
It was fun. It was fun to talk to Sal, and he's very interested in getting your books, and I'm going to be calling him tomorrow, and we're going to be talking more about that.
Well, it's a good place to start. I mean, most don't know where to kind of get going to begin with. But as you do more of it, what you'll do is you'll discover more that you can do. And it's up to you to spot your own potential. I don't know, I said in the show tonight, if you're sitting around waiting for somebody else to do it for you, it's just not likely to happen.
Right. And it's just got to be attitude. I was going to ask you if next week would be a good time that I could schedule a call with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. I got to make one little trip, but it won't take too long to get that done. So
I'm getting a trailer too.
Okay, guys.
Okay. Good night. Thank you very much.
Tamari, a trailer?
Take the challenge of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to move an old car. I got my old Pontiac out there. I got to get moved, so it's going to be a little bit of doing next week. I'm hell-bent on getting it.
And put a studio over top of it.
Yeah, good.
They call that a toy hauler.
They call that a toy hauler. They're exactly right. You just sit back. I shot pictures of it last week. We were there and got some pictures of it. And I'm going, oh gosh, that's not the coolest old car on the planet. I'll eat it.
Oh, I don't know if you've seen my toy hauler.
Probably haven't.
I have. It's cute.
Kind of fun stuff.
Have you gotten your studio moved yet, Doc?
No, we won't move it till the ground sells.
Huh?
As soon as the ground sold, then we're going to box it up and bring it out here. We
There's
Look at
my
that,
toy
Al.
hauler.
Look at that.
Nice.
made out the new building started, but we haven't been able to get soul-worthy moved yet.
Although,
Yeah.
is it big enough for the dogs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They- That's with the back end open.
I love it.
That's just going to be so
Keith
damn.
and I were down in Texas at Sarah's, and we were doing a class down there, and a couple that was in the class invited us to come over to their place. And they had a really nice motorhome. Wasn't super big, but it had the bump outs, and it was very comfortable for the two of them. And they
Yeah.
had their studio in that they hauled, and it was a toy hauler like that, where they took the their little car and pulled in, but when they were using it as studio, the cabinets came down and the counter and everything that they worked with. It was the neatest
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Keith loved it. He just fell in love with it. So,
Well, we got it at the RV show here locally, and it was the 2015 model. It had never been sold, so it was still brand new. And MSRP was almost 26, and we got it for $17,995.
Wow.
not bad. Yeah, not bad at all.
That's a good trade.
I thought so.
That's a good trade.
But I took Mama out with me to the show.
That helped.
Well, we'd been talking about it for a couple of years now, and I just figured, well, the time's right. I got to haul her out there, and we both make a decision at the same time, so it just saved trying to describe it to her.
She probably
Well,
a major reason why you have it is because she could see the potential.
Oh, yeah, and it fit all the dogs.
Yeah. Well, then she's got room for her and her stuff too.
yeah, that works. That works really well. I got a couple things I got to do yet tonight, guys. I'm trying to get this piece done for Jack Solomon, so I'm going to run. Been good to visit with you again. We'll get together next Wednesday.
All right.
Good night.
We're still live, Doc.
Good night.
I
Hey,
won't be
Doc,
here.
we're still live.
I won't be here next Wednesday, so it'll be the Wednesday after.